So we're gonna go into today, and we're gonna go over uploading images to our blog. We're gonna go over possibly doing tagging as well, and then we'll leave off maybe at that. We have one other thing we might be able to do if we have enough time. So let's see. So we left off last time in our blog series 1 folder, and we did a branch, and I just wanted to do this in front of people. We set up a branch called setup theme, and now we're done with it. And so I want to do a git merge no ff now that I'm on master of that branch, and just pull it right into my work. And so now it's been merged in, and I'm going to just git branch delete setup theme. And I can actually delete the temp one too. I was just practicing
What's
some things.
no ff?
It's not it's a way of merging in work without losing a timeline, and basically it just makes, like, if I was working and you were working, we would see where we merged in, but the history of our work wouldn't be all mixed up. Some people will rebase. I think NoFF is, we follow a pattern with the team I'm on to do that, because it's just a lot cleaner. They both definitely have their advantages though. I've done the rebase when I've done stuff for Laravel, and it's fine too. It's a little harder.
No, I never do the rebase, but I always just do git merge, and I don't even know about ff.
It might be a I wonder what that default is.
I bet
honestly.
it's no ff.
Yeah. So I'm going to do PHP artisan serve, and let's start this thing up. Now it says 8,000, but let's see if my beanstalk has taken that over again. We'll find out in a moment. Okay, so it's not secure, which it shouldn't be. I don't know. This is out of habit. I always run my stuff secure. All right, so we're at that blog we made, and we don't have any posts in here, any seed data. I don't think I reseeded it. I think we did have seed data, so let's just do this. And we get that error we got before because we have the SQL driver. I'm too lazy to load this. So we're going to take the easy way out in RM, where we've been storing that database driver. Sorry, the database file. And we're going to just touch that really quick. And then we're going to just do a little seed. And now we did our migrations and our seeds. That's all. And one other thing we did do last time is authenticate. All right, so we're back to our blog area. I've seeded the database fresh. We're here. So now basically what we're going to do is add images to these guys. So when we look at our theme, which is something we bought at Rapstrap, let's see if we can find that guy. Here we go. They have these nice little images, and what we're going to do is we could even make a default, obviously something a little less cheesy. We're going to grab this one and save it for a moment. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that to our code folder for the blog series, into the public folder. And I'm going to make a folder called images. Now there's one called image, but I want to make one that is called images. The one IMG right now is being used for basically assets and stuff. So what we're going to do is copy this whole flow, and basically this theme has this little header then image that they stick in there. So what we're going to get into is this form. Now when we go look at our blog list page where the admin is managing stuff, they can create a blog post, and we have our rough blog post. You know, there's this user ID which we'll remove here too and clean that up in a moment as well. And so going to our resources page, we have our view and our post, and we have our create form. Oops. And the create form is now going to have a new field, and that's where we're going to get into the let's see, we're going to call this one, it's a form group, it's a image, we'll call it image, and we're going to get rid of this while we're here, and I'll explain that in a moment. And so we're going to make that an image file, form control. I don't know if I need form control on an image. Well, we'll leave it there because I'm not sure, for making it look good. That's all that's for. All right, so now when we go back to our form, we now have this image field that we can now upload an image. And I have, let's see, I'll just use this for the heck of it. So nothing's going to happen though, because the controller doesn't know about this, okay? Now, the thing about a form with HTML is that it has to allow images, and we set that by setting the encoding type, or ENC type, to multipart form data, and this allows for the form to then pass image information to via the request. From here, all we have to do, it's really easy, is go into the controller and go into the post that is in charge of storing or creating this, and we just have to, you know, deal with the image, and it's really like 3 or 4 lines of code. Now, if we go to Laravel docs under request, there's an example of using of dealing with images, and this is really cool because we've talked about the request method before, and the request method has a hasFile method, which basically, now remember, the request method for Laravel, and I can't say this enough, is just extending some Symfony stuff. Okay, so it's not like you're going to be learning stuff that you can apply in Drupal and eventually WordPress if they start rolling all this stuff in, right? So Laravel just extends it and sometimes adds a little bit of niceness to it. But anyways, we have the request hasFile. Now, the question is, does our request or our form have a image? I happen to call it an image, not a photo. And if it does, then I want to do something, okay? You know, so do something. All right, so then when we upload this form, we're gonna hit that moment. So let's just give this a title and a body, and nothing happened. All right, that's because I did all that code without reloading the page. Because when you edit the controller, yeah, you don't need to upload the page, but that was actually HTML that I was editing. So let's try that again. And I don't want to upload PDF. All right, boom. So now we need to do something. And what is that something? It's really easy. We want to save the image name to the database, and we want to move the image somewhere. And that somewhere is public images blog, because public is what we can access. Our website's running from in here. And so that's it. And it's pretty slick. Basically, like it says, you're like, hey, does this request have your image, your file? Sorry, not image. If it does, then let's do something with it. And what we're going to do is this. We're going to say, okay, let's start with the basics here. Request file image. So we take this image method, and it returns something, right? It returns an array get this file all. But then it uses the key you gave it to get the key image. So this is a exactly. And then I'm giving it a default of a, by the way, this is what I want to call it, right? And so this R, yeah, more so in late, and they might not want to rename the image for whatever reason. And this is not, yeah, and this is R, the R class. I've never seen such a weird name before. But basically this R class is just a nice class to interact with arrays. And it's basically being used to say, hey array, do this, do that, and return an object. And that object gives me that ability to say, fine, not only do I want to do something, but then I want to take the object you're giving me back and use its move method, and its move method follows through with that. And it's an uploaded file class that I'm getting back. And the uploaded file class then says move to the directory with that name, and so forth. So it's pretty succinct. And the destination path is going to be our public path. So this is just a helper Laravel gives us to quickly get our public path. No big deal. And I'm going to say, yeah, put it in there, and because we're working on blogs, we're going to dump it in the blog folder. and we're gonna give it a name. We're gonna just keep the we're gonna keep the name that came with it, and I think I don't need to do this, but I'm just gonna do it. Here we go. So I'm just gonna say, by the way, request image get client original name. I think that's what it defaults to, but I remember once I didn't think it did that. So now we have our image, but now you know, we're gonna see that when I'm done with this. So now if we go back here and we just reload the page, we see that inside of public images is that image user3. You see, pretty darn simple. Now the not the hard part, the next part is to say, hey, we need to save that somewhere. So we're gonna add a field to our post table, because that's what's really the blog. It's a post. And I'm just going to say PHP artisan make me a migration, and just we write it in a way that's consistent. Add image name field to post table. And there's not there's generator scripts and stuff that can turn that into a completely done migration file. Yeah, I didn't plug that one in, but it's so easy, especially once you start having copy paste. Yeah, and so I copy paste that to this, and I call it post, and I call it post, and we want to just call it image name, and just it's really, that's it. Now we have this image name, and let's migrate that work we just did, and then when we go back to that controller, I'm gonna be able to say, okay, great. We've moved the image over, and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say image name equals what we had here, and so we're gonna use that image name and move it over, and then we're gonna say else if we didn't have a file put in with this particular request, let's just make image name equal just empty. Okay. And then all we have to do is say, when you get to that new post, we're going to fill that field in with whatever we found here in the request, which might be nothing, right? And so at this point, we already did this before, yeah. But at this point, we're saying that image name field we made, great, store that image, all right? Now, at this point, we're going to have the image saved. So let's go do one more. Let's go create it. Well, exactly. So if we go back to our routes, we see that we're calling our blog post. We see that when someone posts or creates a post, it's going to hit store, and that's going to go to our controller store. And we know because of the HTTP methods that post is the moment of creating something, where put is the moment of typically updating something. Well, no, it's totally in the form itself. The button just inherits the forms. Yeah, and we're gonna actually have to add it to our edit, and we'll do that in a moment. Because when we edit the form, we want to update the image or so forth. We'll get there shortly. Right, but if we did not add this multipart, then maybe it's for security reasons, but by default, the request will never make it through. Yeah, right, and yeah, in inspecting this, we see what that becomes. We see it becomes a form with a post, and we see the enc type, and then we see the hidden token. Because it's a post, we need a token, and pretty much that's it. No, so now I'm gonna upload one here for real, do a whole create, and now we got it. We're back to the beginning. Now the problem with here, when we go home, is we have many of them. So we first have to tell the view to show it, and then we have to say, by the way, if it doesn't exist, let's default to that one I added earlier. Okay, so when we look here, this is our home page. There's no URI. We see that our home page is a get of home controller home, and if we go look at home controller home, because why not be repetitive? We see that it's going to call the view home, and if we go to our views and we look at home, we see here that it's saying, hey, for every post you have, we're going to do that whole blog output. And that's where I want to grab that image syntax they're using here, which is actually pretty irrelevant. It's just image. Now, they throw that in there in their HTML. So we don't really have a alt tag. We can come back to that later. I guess we do in the image name. Well, I guess we have it like this, right? Now here's the other part. Like, well, where is the image? Well, it's not that. It's post image name, and we've put it inside of images blog, right? But the thing we have to remember is, you know, not everything will have an image because we didn't do enough. So we can basically say, you know, if post has image name, then great. You know, go ahead, put that in there. Else, well, and we're going to even just do a little bit of something else. Let's end the if. Else, we're going to take this and say, no, it's going to be our default, which was, oops, sorry, that's the asset folder, this guy. So it's just going to be image, bike. And with both of these, we need to add one more thing because it just gets a little bit wonky. I think it gets wonky. It might not because they've kind of already made this theme nice. But now when we reload this, we're going to get the bike image. Now we'll also get our image, but and we'll also get that CSS issue we struggled with the last time, which we're going to ignore because we all hate CSS. But we are going to get, it's going to drive me nuts, but I'm not getting distracted. We'll eventually get to our image. It just happens to be way at the end. There it is there. And it's really that simple to get that about. Now, the question will be like, well, I want to go update these ones. And that's the next thing we can take on is like, how do I see it? You know, the seeing it's easy. You know, we can easily snag this. And I think this is a good example of like well, I won't say that. I was going to say it's a good example of a moment we can have non-repetitive code, but I think there's enough to the code's going to change depending on the view. So in our case, yeah, in a partial, but we will avoid that for right now, just because I don't think there's enough value there, based on the fact that the form is so the output is so you know, one's going to need a bigger image, one's going to need a smaller image, and we could, you know, optimize, but we won't worry about that right now. But let's just grab this and this, and let's call this I don't know why the Bootstrap thing I'm using that I made, or sorry, I did not make it, I forked it, has this habit of making a show a form. I should fix that. But let's get rid of all that because it is not a form. And let's go grab that image code I had. And sorry, it loses my... I'll never get it. Okay, so I'm just going to do it the easy way. Actually, I'll go right back there and snag it. That's what I want to snag. Okay. And it's the same thing, you know. It happens to be. It totally could have been a different theme. So now we see a post, we see the blah, 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 and we see that. And I think we would see body, but there is not much body. But now let's go back. Let's now get this thing to edit for us, okay? So if we edit this, I want to be able to change the image. Going back to our edit form, we have to do something. Now, yeah, we have to grab our image here. Now, here's the thing we can easily do, and it's a funny one. Like, you could easily use this code all over again as a partial, right? And we could do that thing we did before with the include, right? Now, the reason I'm hesitant is because if we look in edit, we establish a value of post title, but when we look at create, we establish a value of InputOld. And so I'm not sure how to easily swap those back and forth right now. Old, right. So InputOld is the common scenario where, hey, you just filled in this big form, but you missed on something. So when I return with an error, I don't want you to lose your information. So InputOld is what makes, yeah, so it makes this nice workflow of like, hey, you know, I just did all this work blogging, and I'm going to create, yeah, and it doesn't get lost. It's just that nice workflow. I'm sure we can do a nice fancy if statement, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure it's a nice tweak, but just to keep it simple, let's just keep moving on and not focus so much on that code optimization. So I'm going to paste that here. Again, we're not really dealing with the user ID. That's, we talked about that in the last session. That's behind the scenes. So we're going to say, okay, do you want to upload an image? Now, same thing, you have to say, hey, you know, form, let them upload an image. All right, so we have to set that enc type, and now they can upload an image. And, or, you know, replace their image. Now, just like before, on store, we're going to say, basically, we're going to say all of this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this code and I'm going to extract it out to a standalone method so I can reuse it, right? Get and, well, yeah, it's a nice little feature storm. So now it grabbed it for me, moved that code to this method, right? So we're going to get the same value out of store. It's going to say, hey, is there an image name? Go deal with that image, right? And deal with image is going to take the request. It's going to say, oh, oops, sorry. Oh yeah, it has an image, blah, blah, blah. Everything we did before, right? Now, when we go back to, let me copy that out. When we look at our routes again, we see on put that we're calling to update. And so if we look at update, we're going to put that code right here. Not that code. We're going to put that code right here. And we're going to do this right here, just like we did before. And we're going to, you know, then say this. But there's a trick here. There's something to consider for a moment. I don't want to change. Now, if a person doesn't upload an image with this edit, I don't want to change their work. Because just by the fact that they're not adding an image doesn't mean they want to remove an image, right? So I'm going to take a moment to do something here that, you know, I can say image, you know, I can say that. So if there's an image name, use it, because otherwise it's blank. Else use post image name. And then we're just going to re-grab it and reassign it, okay? Yeah, in the thing here, which could be nothing, but the thing here, we never fixed this, and we never... we never, let's see, we're not trying to let the person ever change this. We talked about this before because we don't want someone to fake this. So this is another one which I just wouldn't bother touching. I would probably just remove that one and never have it be changed. So not right now. I don't see any value. Yeah. So let's go choose an image. We'll grab a different one. That's always a good one. And we'll grab that one. And that's it. Now we're back to here. And we'll go to our home page. And we'll scroll down. Here we go. Nothing much there. Should be easy to see this big yellow hat. Here we go. We have it, right? And I guess we could have searched by it because I think we got that working the last time. So that's it. We have our image. It was easy to post and put, and we have it in place. I think that honestly covers the image. Any thoughts there? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice way to do things so that you're not storing yeah. Yeah. Yeah, or server paths, because I don't want to update the database. I want to actually do it in code if I need to. Yeah, you're right. And I might want to move them all to S3, and now I can. You know, it's easy. Yeah. So okay, so that takes care of images. We'll show tags really quick because it is pretty quick, I believe, and then we'll see if we can finish that up this episode. So tags are a nice way to organize your blog, and basically we're going to use relationships. We're going to do a many-to-many relationship. And it's basically, it's just like a role. It's basically saying, hey, this user or this blog post has a role or a tag. So we're going to make our model tags. We're going to make our database table tags. And we're going to make the relationships happen to tags. Now, this will be the first time we've done a many-to-many relationship in this. So it will be an extra step. And we have our generator. Now, I don't know if I installed the other generator. Let's see if I did. Scaffold framework. No, I don't. Okay, so let's just go grab that. Yeah, the term, I don't know. I like it. It's called a pivot table. It's going to be the table that pivots the relationship between the two. Yeah, it totally is. It totally is. Yeah. I'm gonna run this this composer here. I'm gonna grab this nice generator. This is my favorite, other than the one I forked. I like the one I forked because it does everything. This one used to do everything, I thought, but I don't know what happened. All right, so we got that. We're gonna just register it. Now, he's doing a cool thing here. Typically, you just throw it into your app, but he wants to do what we did before. Which we go to app provider. So our app provider, we added this before where we add my generator I made, and I copied his instructions. And we're also going to say, by the way, if we're working, let's grab this other generator and register that as well. And not doing, remember we talked about this, and not do it on production, or not do it on, because we just don't need it. And that's it. Basically, at this point, we could run our migrations and eventually make our pivot table. So let's see. So let's start with the migration with schema he offers. Now, we have the same thing. We've been working on this for a while, where we can migrate with a schema. We're going to use his version of it just to keep it simple. And the version is basically going to say, we'll just call it tag, and it's just going to be a string, and that's it. We're going to say create tags table schema tag string. All right, and we've now oh, I don't want to migrate yet. I want to look at it really quick. So we made our database migration, and it's a tag. And let's see, it increments. It's an ID. It's a that, and we don't need timestamps on a tag, so I'm going to delete that. And just to make sure it doesn't happen, I'm going to open up the tag model it made, and the tag model extends model, and you can say, do I want timestamps? Yeah, I'm going to basically say, no, you know, I just don't need you to do that. It's no big deal. And it's just going to tell, hey, don't worry about it. Don't look for it. Don't think about it. Okay? Now, at this point, we have a sense of the model exists. So let's migrate that. That should be ready. But now how do we bring the two together? And just like we did before, I'll come back to the generators. We just say, okay, user has roles. Well, post has tags. So I'm going to say, hey, post, you have these things called tags. And you belong to many. Let me just get rid of this string. Yeah, I'm going to do /app tag class. In tag, and just like the directions show it, the inverse of that relationship then is just that. And so here I'm going to say, okay, tag, you, when I talk to you, yeah, what is it? Post, yeah, belongs to many at post. So it's the same thing on either side. All right, so that's that, but we still need that pivot table, because just when we did, if you remember, we did a post has a user, but because that's a one-to-many relationship, we could easily just put the user ID in that table. In this case, you know, we can't. We have to have that join table. So if we go here, a join table is pretty cool. We're gonna make one, and when we do, you'll see it's a pretty nice one. It's so simple, and it goes back to the conventions. In the conventions, and again, conventions over configuration. And the convention is this: what are the names of the tables you want to join? Now, this I'm gonna make sure to do this after. Yeah, but here's a bug in these documents. When you do a join or a pivot, and I'm almost 100% sure it's a bug, and maybe it just honestly doesn't matter. It's just what I was told to do. I was going to see if they had it written here, but I'll come back to that later after the session. But basically, the convention is put your table names separated by a space, but they should be in alphabetical order. So at this point, we now have our pivot table, which is just a table called post tag, and then the post ID references, blah, 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 with all the cascading on delete. Now, this might drive SQLite crazy. We'll come back to that in a moment if it does. And that's it. We now have our joining table. Let's see if we can pull that off. Yep, we're not going to worry about SQLite. So we're all set. We have we have everything in place to make it happen. Now, you know, there's a ton of plugins and stuff we can do to make it look nice on the form end. What we're gonna do is keep it pretty simple on the form. We'll go back to edit because we were just there. On the edit form, we're gonna say, you know, by the way, go input some tags, okay? And we're gonna say, here's your tags, and we don't have we'll come back to this in a moment. This is an interesting one. How do you show your values of those tags? Yeah. But we are gonna do a placeholder, and we're gonna say foo bar, and you can basically show real quickly that you can separate it. And we're going to say tags. And so now when we go edit, this guy, we're going to have that field. Obviously, that's the easy part of our job. And we're going to say foo bar. Okay. Now, when someone clicks submit, we want to now actually do something with those tags, and that's an update. And we're just going to do our nice dump and die input tags, and so we can just quickly see that, hey, I get tags. Okay, now my quick and simple way out of this is to do the same thing, and I'll do it here, and then we'll extract it out and reuse it. Okay, now Laravel talks about this when making relationships. Okay, so let's look at this really quick. When you're inserting relationships, a many-to-many, you attach them. So we have our user or our post, and we find that and then we find its roles or its tags, and we attach the tags. Okay. Now we can attach a tag by its ID. We can attach a tag and we can add extra data to the pivot table, which is really nice. So my pivot table can hold some more relationship information, and that came in handy in a recent project. And I can detach that role ID or tag ID, and I can detach them all by leaving it empty. It also, I can detach or attach multiple tags at once. You see? Yep. Yep. Yeah. So now an update, we have our post, and we're saying, hey, post, you know, you have these tags, which we made that method tags, right here. Okay. You have that method we made called tags. While you're at it, I want to sync. Now, sync is really sweet. I don't want you just to attach these tags. I want you to replace all the existing tags I had before. Okay? Now, the problem is we don't have IDs for these tags. And you could do things. You could make the tags as you associate them or add them. But I'm going to keep it simple because we don't want to have duplicate tags. So I'm basically going to take a moment to turn our input into an array, to check. So we're going to then iterate over every item in that array. Yeah. Find or create. Then pass it into the post. Okay. Pretty simple, right? So I'm going to say, okay, tags array equals this tags. Now, at this point, we could not even need any of this because there might not be anything in the tags, right? So I can basically take all of this away and say if this, then do something, right? And we're going to extract all of this out in a moment. Sorry, I can't see my clipboard. Here we go. All right, so we're going to say, okay, if there's tags, let's move on. Here's our tags. It's a comma separated list. Of course, you could be doing validations and all that stuff. We're going to just take it we're just going to keep it simple. So now technically we made our array of tags. And I'm going to say for each of these tags that we've been given as a tag, let's start dealing with them, right? And so a tag, let's see, tag find, let's see, what's the best way to do this? Let me just start. So tag find or create equals tag find. So we have this model we made earlier called tag, right? Find or new tag, okay? Now what that is going to deliver to us is not what I want, so I can't do that. So I'm going to say tag where what did we call it in the tag model? We called it a tag or a name. I called it a tag. I should have called it a name. That was kind of silly. You're supposed to be keeping an eye on me. Yeah. So we're going to say tag where tag equals that, and we just want the first one because in theory there's only going to ever be one. Okay. And yeah. Well, no, I hear what you're saying. No, it's a good question. It's a really good question. I would just basically do what we did before. So PHP artisan make migration, if I could spell. Yeah, exactly. Alter tags table. and I could have said, what I was doing, but just like we did before, I would do, okay, hey tags, and I think we actually have one where we rename it. If not, we'll have to go look. It's in the docs. Let's grab here, migrations, renaming, dropping. We don't want to rename the table. Modifying columns. So yeah. Let's see. String name change. Rename column. I wonder. We'll do it. I wonder if this is a good example of where SQLite will just, without that extra driver, just die. But let's just see. Let's just see what happens. I'm curious. So I'm gonna call tag to name because that makes more sense. And then we want to roll back our work if we decide we have to roll it back. We want to rename that. Now, so let's see. So we have our take the table tags, rename that to tag, yeah, and then roll it back if something goes wrong. And that's okay. It just means we don't have the driver. No big deal. But what we can do is just go back and do our down and dirty, and then yeah. Oh, but look we can't do that because again it goes through that process, right? So let's just do something here. Let's get out of the lazy for a moment because it's so easy. And I think it's just the DBAL. Here it is. DBAL. And I just gotta grab it. I don't know this guy here. Composer require. And I think I don't know if it will just, let's just look really quick. It might just work after that. I don't think I have to load anything. Yeah, SQLite's pretty cool actually. Yeah. All right, boom, we're done. So I keep saying boom. My son and I are playing his recent Christmas birthday present, Skylanders, and the guy says boom in there like 1,000 times. Yeah. Hopefully I'll get sick of that game. It's not my favorite. Yeah, but it's fun. Not fun enough, but I'm glad he's into it. Okay, so we've reseeded our database, so we're going to be out of whack here, but we can that'll be easy to recover. So we're saying, okay, tags array for each tag. We're going to then go back and say, hey, does the name exist with that tag? If so, we found it, right? And if not that, then we just need a moment to create it. So I'm just going to say equals tag create. And I'm just going to make this really simple. I'm just going to say create tag, right? And that's it. So now either way, I have this particular value of the tag that was just made, or the tag that was just made, or the tag that was found. And at this point, I can just make this ongoing collection that we're going to use in a moment. And so, sure. Okay. Don't pause your recording. No, don't. Yeah. Yeah. Was it bad? Okay. Yeah, no, leave it running. It'll be easier. And it won't be huge. Yeah. Okay.
All right, back in business.
All right. Let me get back the headset on.
Be right back. That's funny.
All right, let's get rid of that. So, okay, so at this point, I'm gonna start building up this collection, this array of tags that were IDs that we're finding, and I'm gonna start off empty, and we're gonna extract all this out in a moment. And so at the end of this array of tags that we made, from this incoming input, we're gonna then be able to sync them right here. We can actually basically be done because we're basically saying, hey, let's start off with nothing. If they've passed stuff in, we're gonna make IDs out of that. But worst case is they just are resetting the post to have no tags. And so that would do it. So if we close out of here and we go to, let's see, I forget where it sends us. It sends us probably to index. So let's go grab a post. So we're going to be here. This is post 1. Okay, so we're in show. So if we go to show, we're going to say, we'll just say div tags, and tags will be the results of post. So this is interesting. So post has tags, and it could have many of them to array, right? Well, no, right. So no. Let's do this. I'm just getting ahead of myself. So we're saying, so it's really easy how to query. And we're going to basically say, hey, if you have these, it might actually error out because I'll have to look. But it might error out because this will be null, and then it will say, hey, you know, you can't do a for each on null. So we'll come back to that in a moment and wrap it. So I'm going to now say, you know, output that particular tag name. So if we go back to show, it might error, but it didn't, and there are no tags, okay? But when we edit this, sorry, this is post 1. Yep, post 1. When we edit this, we can give it some tags, foo bar, and then we can save it in mass assignment. Okay, that's fine. This is mass assignments to protect us, and mass assignment says you cannot create something and just so conveniently dump an array in here. Unless you, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Unless you go to your tag and mark that as fillable, and it's just a nice way to protect your fields from mass assignment. Like is admin, sure, I'll make everything, you know, I'll update is admin whenever I want. So now that should give us what we want. Tag name fillable, and it might be protected, and I think. There, now we should be all set. Now, if we go back to post 1 edit, if we don't have it, it might be because I did post too many times, but let's just try it again and see how we go. Alright, so now if we go to 1, it's not there. Alright, not a good start. Let's see what happened. So I could hit the UI, but I like to remind you know, us as we're doing this, we have this awesome artisan Tink. And we can easily just play around in here, and it would be post find 1 because we see that the ID is 1 up here, and we say post find 1, great, but now hey post, what are your tags? And let's see, I'm going to say tags to array. And it does have them, you see. So we were successful in our work. It would basically tell me just something's wrong with my show. Right, no, PHP Storm automatically saves when I leave the file. It's one of its nicer features. But we're basically saying, we basically are doing the same thing. We're saying, hey show, go find it. And then after finding it, let's hit it and do our tags array. So let's just make sure there's no, oh, that's what it is. I have a typo. No, I don't. Wow. No, it's interesting. So we definitely have a name. We definitely fixed our name. Oh, I see. It's really interesting. So basically, it's an array, but it's yeah, I must have messed up somewhere. Well, I think, what were you going to say? Right, but it shouldn't be a subarray. You see how it's a subarray? It should honestly be as easy as so if we were to say, okay, if we were to say this, right? So it shouldn't be any more work than tags 1, for example. Tag 0. Like I'm not sure why. Yeah, totally. What is this guy? See, it shouldn't be a tag in an array. It shouldn't be an array inside of there. Right here. Yeah, right. Yeah. Let's see. This was on update. That is interesting. So let's see. So now if we were to query that. No, I must be doing something wrong. See, we can even look at the docs. Sync roles, touching the parent, timestamp. Let's see, defining one-to-one, many-to-many, query relationships. So, you know, has many, where active get, you know, so for each user, post as post. It's pretty simple stuff. Just somehow when I did this, it made, let's just try this. Maybe I can minimize that by just doing this, because it's an arrayable class. And let's view that guy. All right, there we go. It's an arrayable class, so I think it's like you said before. By doing it to array, I'm surprised though, but I'm also tired. But it's pretty cool. Like, this is returning to you that has many, belongs to many, and that belongs to many returns to you a bunch of helpers, and it implements the array or arrayable. So these are like PHP yeah, I'm surprised though. I've never noticed that before. But my point is, like, you can really just quickly, like, it's an object, but by putting it into a for each loop, the class is smart enough to know, hey, I'm not an object anymore, I'm an array. It's a immediate automatic conversion without me doing anything. It's pretty cool. Okay, so we pulled it off. And if we go look at one without tags, it won't break, I believe. It just is empty, which is great. And if we were to edit this one, this is a different one, this is number 2, and we say, hey, foo and baz, and save that, and then we go view that one, we see foo and baz. Now, we can do this to prove a point, tag ID. Its foo will have 1 and its baz will have 4, and if we go back to 1, its foo will have 1. So we also see that we are not endlessly making these tags, right? So, and we can then filter by tag. So we can easily say, what does this guy do again? We got that working. We didn't? Oh, I guess you're right. Oh, we did it on the index. Remember this? Search Regram. So, you know, we could say here, you know, if they click on that tag, we can easily say route, whatever that one is. It's on our resources, views, post. Obviously, it doesn't have as much value, but we'll just mess around for a moment. So we have our search, if search, blah, 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 action, post, index. Here, let's just be lazy as heck. Yeah, but it doesn't need to be a post. Oh, it is a get, cool. So I am gonna say route. Yeah, totally. It's wicked easy. If I would actually copy the code. Okay. So, you know, route post index, and I think all I have to do here is tags equals tag ID. And I'll keep it plural for right now, just because later on we could use like commas or something. So at that point, if I click on this guy, that's now a link, and if I inspect it, it's a link with a query string. And if we press on it, it goes back to that search area, and that search area is let's see, that would be here. Oops. Would be here. Now we don't want it to always be here, but just for fun, we can see that we did this before. We had the search, and if the search is set, we do something. Now I mentioned this a way back that we're kind of like building a weird process here, and you can see it now. Like, hey, now we want to do tags. Yeah, and so typically what I would do here is I would say post equals post query, and then it will naturally progress. So then we could pull this out here and just say, hey, post, when you're all done, then also paginate. And so at this point, our post, so we'll just ignore the tag thing for a moment. When we search for Regram, it will now find that, and possibly too much. Let's see if this one. It's such a weird word. Let's just do test. It looks like it's finding too much. Oh, my bad. So sorry. Well, no, because I messed up. So now we're saying, okay, if we're starting our base query, and then we're saying, hey, if we're gonna now take that query and extend it with this particular, you know, by the way, add to it a where, and then if you're done with that, we're gonna say post paginate. You see. So all throughout we're building this query, and so if I search for it, it's gone, which is what we wanted. And if I put in one of those weird words we had before, we should get at least one or more, because that's a common lorem ipsum word. I use it all the time. So it's working because of that, but we want to extend this further and say if if tags equals in a course, we're going to stick to just one tag. We're not going to get into the whole array thing. We're going to then take that particular post and do something with it. And I'm gonna move this up one because my brain's too dead to think. I'm gonna say post. Let's see. With yeah, I see what you're saying. Let's see. When you exactly, but you can query relationships and come back to this and say, well, how do I query relationships? And you know, user has posts related to it, and we only want the ones where they're active, right? And this is a nice one. This is very succinct. You know, let's go back a little. I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this. And what I just saw in the docs actually looks pretty nice. Now, tags where name. Oh, sorry. We're gonna be passing the ID, and actually I could do tags. We'll keep it simple for now. Without that. So that might work. I haven't done this one though. So we have this guy. Now let's go back to what we had before. Let's clear out that. Not that that matters. It would self-clear. We're going to say tags equals 1. Yeah, let's just click that. And we have a lot of stuff that shouldn't be there, right? Yep, right. So, you know, the first thing first thing I see is a typo here, okay? And this is better. I'd rather get a break. Now, I thought this looked a little bit too nice. Basically, if we look at the docs, the query is done. And what I mean by done is they've already done their search. They've already returned their builder. And I need to actually... Yeah, exactly. I need to actually say... it's one of these sections, constraining eagle loaders. I need to do more like this, where we want to know what users... we want to get those posts, but only if the posts have a certain something. But see how it's like a with? In the with happens pretty soon in the query. So that's why I'm going to bring this back up here. And I'm going to say, you know, tags with, let's see. And I might have to even bring this up higher, and I might have to go to priest for forgiveness when we're done with this. So I'm just going to say, once storm moves out of my way, query where ID equals tags, because we're just passing in a string, right? But because it's a closure, I have to say not user, use tags. And so now that will limit by the ID, but this might be too late in the process, so we'll look at that in a moment if it bugs out again. Okay, so it didn't bug out, and then I want to just say post equals that. Okay. The fact it didn't bug out isn't good, because it's obviously not working. So let's just make sure we got in here. Obviously there could be a typo. Let's just say, hey, you're here. And so we got in here. Now we're saying post with tags, query where tag ID equals tags. And we definitely know we got tags. Yep, 1. And then we look at the docs, and they say order by. Order by is easy. Load. Load. Okay. So I'm gonna move this right here just out of laziness and do that. And then I'm going to just close this up here. And when we reload this, it might have no effect. It still doesn't. So that tells me it has more to do with my query. Post with tags. Where that's a good one. I'm not sure. We might be hitting Stack Overflow in a moment. Either my query is not good enough. Let's see. Well, it's basically, yeah, it's basically like a join that says, hey, you know, left join tags where tag ID of the pivot table is related to the tag ID of the post table. So it should be no different than a join, and by the time you get to here saying also where the, you know, whatever, but you're not, because we don't care about that, but then you're paginating it. So honestly, it should work. Just I'm missing something on a query. No, it's nothing about ifs at this point. It's about my query is not succinct enough. Laravel eloquent query by tags. You know, so we've been to the docs already, and it just I don't think it had a good enough example. You know, like this would be that's a this is a one-to-many. Here. See, this is, you know, when you get stuck and you can't do it via Eloquent, which obviously you can in this, you could dig into the joining, you know. I'm trying to just show the more succinct way of doing it, though. That's a good one. Let's see. Thank you. And they did not do that. Okay. So they didn't put that into an array, and I think it should work. Let's see if that does it. All right, there you go. So let's see. We had one of these which had 3 and the other didn't, or 2. Definitely two had nothing I know about. but 3 definitely had only 1 related to it, and then 1 had BAS, which was 4. So we can see it working. That was cool. And it's again, you could, yes. And hold on, I gotta remember to edit that out. Let's go back to the code, and you can see where not you saying nice work, but me switching screens. You can see where it's really easy to say screw it, I'm just gonna write a join. But if you just have some patience, I think you can write it for better or not this way. Yeah, using eloquence, the ORM, and even this, it's not an in statement, so I can remove that and so forth. So all right, so with that little moment of Stack Overflow, we have enough code here to do our tagging, viewing of the tag, editing of the tags, and eventually we can add a nice way to bring the tags into one place when we want to. All right, that was it. So I think that covers it. Too Tired Text will be the title of the show. And next episode, we're pretty close to a wrap. Maybe we'll talk about how to show stuff in the footer in a consistent, cacheable way. One big step could be to just, and it's honestly like an hour's worth of work, tops, is just to set up Forge. There's like 3 clicks of a button, wait, yeah, and then we can auto deploy. It could definitely be a nice wrap, because it really gets you to that point of like, how easy this is. Yeah, so we'll maybe even skip this one because it's pretty basic and go right into the deploy next one. So, and I'll set up Forge ahead of time so that we get the authentication email without waiting. So, all right.